Hey guys, welcome back to Spectre Creative. I'm Scott Toy Guru Nightlick, your host here. I am making, you're watching, a video that's a quick follow-up to the video I posted earlier in the week about the potential cost of the upcoming Maxim series from Marvel Legends, where we're going to get a ton of accessories and, it's like the ultimate Spider-Man with everything you could want. And one of the things I mentioned in this video, basically the point was that toy companies and retailers like to comp prices year on year. So if they already have an SRP of $49.99, whether it's, I use this again, my Ghost Rider and vehicle, or a 2-pack of, well, let's just pretend it was Spider-Man and Chameleon, even though they didn't come in a 2-pack, but we can pretend, right? Who's Spider-Man come with? Mary Jane in the Renew Your Vows? I don't have that Mary Jane anymore. I have the one from the that old 2-pack where she came with the purse and the jeans and the freckles on her face. Okay. Point being is there seems to be a major misconception of how tooling and cost affects the SRP. So I want to explain that. It's kind of what I love doing on this channel, is explaining the why of things in the toy industry, especially price. All right. So yes, let's talk about the Ghost Rider cycle here. Fully tooled, one-time use item, right? And a lot of people were saying in the comments, okay, well, that's $49.99 because they have to compensate for all the tooling to make the vehicle and all the unique tooling on the figure. I mean, yeah, he's got like the same head, and I think he borrows some legs and feet from somebody else, but that's not important right now. Whether or not he's fully tooled is totally irrelevant in how prices are set. And let me explain why. So all consumer product, whether it's toilet paper or action figures or, Scotch tape, are done by a thing called a profit and loss statement. It's basically a linear financial statement that starts with the rough cost of an item, or I'm sorry, the raw cost of the item, right? And then the cost you're going to sell it to the retailer, the wholesale cost. So a good rule of thumb is anything you're buying, especially in the toy aisle, the cost of that is going to be about 25, the raw cost, what's called the X factory. That's the cost that the manufacturer, like a Mattel or a Hasbro or a Spin, buys the item from the vendor in Hong Kong. So if you're talking about a $25 figure, that means about $7, $8 is what it costs to make just a regular figure that you're paying $25 for. The reason you're paying $25 is, well, the manufacturer has to make money and then the retailer has to make money. So let's just say this was $20 for an easier math. So if this was $20, a fourth of that would be $5. And then, so Mattel or Hasbro would buy it from the factory for $5. They would then sell it to Target for $10, and Target sells it to the consumer for $20. So Target is making $10, Mattel's making $5, and the vendor's making some money there as well. So the reason that it doesn't matter whether it's a reissue figure or it's fully tooled is because tooling hits the P&L after the margin. So see if I can explain that. So just looking at the Hasbro to Target sale, right? So if it costs Hasbro $5 to make a figure and they sell it to Target for $10, well, they're making a 50% margin, right? So those margins, like the requirement, the amount of profit a SKU, an item, is required to make, is something that is dictated by the stockholders, the people that own the company, right? So they require, let's say, Hasbro to make a 50% or a 25% margin on whatever items they sell. The tooling is a sunk cost. So it's a one-time cost that is at the end of the P&L subtracted from the operating profit, or rather the profit minus tooling equals operating profit. So in other words, this toy is made up of plastic, paint, and paper for the packaging, right? The total cost of all of the plastic, the paint, and anything else that goes in the package, right? Like here's my good old, packaged Marvel Legends, my Darkhawk here, right? So everything that goes into this is the X factory cost. The tooling to act the mold to make this figure is not part of the cost. That hits the P&L after, at the very end. So you will make less profit on a figure that requires a lot of tooling, like tooling up a whole cycle for Danny Ketch, but you will make the same margin because the amount of plastic, paint, and paper that goes into it is equivalent to, say, the Renew Your Vows pack with Spider-Man and Mary Jane 2-pack. They're both $49.99 items, which means they probably cost about the same to produce. Any one-time sunk cost, like making the mold, the reusable mold, right? That, again, that's hitting the P&L at the very end, and it's subtracted from your profit to make your final profit, what's called your operating profit. So it has nothing to do with the amount of tooling. I see this as kind of one of the big misconceptions out there on the internet and toy world, where people are saying, oh, it's a fully tooled figure, so it should cost more. That's not how it works. And I've also explained this kind of in terms of, like, when I ran the Masters of the Universe Classics line for Mattel, if we had, say, 20 figures for the year, well, they all had to make the same margin, but we could spread out the tooling amongst all of them so that a figure that's like a repaint, like Hordak here, right? Okay, so this Hordak was a repaint. There was no tooling for this figure. So that Mattel made more profit on this figure than they made on, say, Horde Prime, who had to be tooled, right? But they made the same margin. And that's why fully tooled figures, like, who's fully tooled? Like Ram Man was fully tooled. The cost to make him, the loss in profit will be compensated by putting out a bunch of repaints or less expensive figures. So I hope that makes sense. So tooling has nothing to do with the cost or the SRP. It's only tied to the end of the day profit. So companies, yes, will make less profit on a fully tooled figure, but they're going to make the same margin because, again, that one-time sunk cost of the tool is accounted for at the end of the P&L, not at the cost for the factory level, because it's considered development. It's a design and development, basically square in your Excel. And that's why if you can reuse tools, you make more money. That's why companies like to do redecos, because they're making more profit from redecos. They're not making more margin. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So yes, even though Danny had to get an entire motorcycle, it doesn't mean that his SRP has to change. I hope that explained things, and if this didn't clarify, let me know. I'll make another one. I love making videos like this to explain these kind of things. Thanks as always for watching, and sharing these videos is the best way to support this channel, and I thank you for that. All right, see you guys in the next video.